Oh no.
Mä kirjoitin sen siihen.
Kyllä sen muutaman sanan voit sanoa, joo. Mutta sä sanot sen tänne sitten.
Joo, se on mun.
Käsittelet sä meidän molemmat siinä?
Mä sanon mun, ja sit mä esittelen sut, ei kun sä esittelet itse.
Missä mä esittelen itteni? Hei, me puuttuu kokonaan. Se on oma rastassa. Kai se mummo. Kyllä me halutaan esitellä. Nyt me puuttuu kokonaan se slaidi ihan typerä.
Should we start? Yep. Can you hear me? Yes? Wow.
Is the recording on? Is the recording on?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Ulla, and I'm really happy to see so many people here because I thought that everybody's already so tired that nothing interests anymore. But great to have you here. We are from Meara, the company that was originally founded as Meara but has been known as Wunder for 10-ish years. But then this week we returned to be Meara just because we wanted to remind ourselves of what we are. Here's Tomi.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm one of the co-founders of Meara, which was in between going back to Meara known as Wunderkraut and Wunder.
And whatever, and we were always confused with Wunderbaum and Wundermann and Wunder whatever, so not anymore. Anyway, today we are here to tell you a story from Finnish universities. Let's go to the next slide. So, we're in Athens, and it does feel pretty appropriate because this is the place where I would say education was born, right? So there was this man called Socrates wandering around the streets somewhere around here, and he was asking questions. He was asking them relentlessly and even annoyingly, some might say. But here's the thing about Socrates. He never wrote anything down. So if you wanted to get an answer, you needed to find him, and he was the only interface, basically. But that worked well because he was brilliant and because there were just a few dozen of people actually following him. But if you fast forward 2,500 years, and we've got universities, and this, like, the content, the amount of content is endless. There's like policies and guides and FAQs and whatnot, and still the students don't find the answers, and we know they don't. So what they do is that they email, and they phone, and then they eventually give up, right? And the problem, therefore, is not the content, really. The problem has always been access. And that's what we are talking about today, how to really create accessible content. So, let's go. Every university, as much as I know, have more than enough content. The best universities are not the ones that have the most. They are the ones that can deliver the answers quickly. And here's the business case. Here's the real business case that we've been working on. Confusion is actually really expensive. It's really expensive. Every unanswered question becomes an email. Every email becomes a queue. And every queue means that there is a person who needs the answer. There's a overloaded service desk or something like that. So confusion is really, really expensive. And that's where the real cost is really hiding. And that's the case that you can use in favor of your business. So, clarity is not a nice-to-have thing. For a university, it is the real competitive advantage if you start thinking about it. And now, Tomi will tell you something about that.
Thanks, Ulla. So, we see this pattern everywhere we go. It's just not only the universities, it's not even only the companies, it's every organization that has the same problem. There might be multiple authoritative knowledge bases, tens of them even. In the case of universities, there might be intranets, student-facing knowledge bases for curriculum systems. There might be IT help desks, facility booking systems, and so on. All of them are equally correct, authoritative, and at the same time, they also are owned by different teams quite often. And this brings in fragmentation in the ownership, updating and managing the content, making sure that they all have the same tone of voice, and so on. In the end, the quality drifts because of all of this. And this is happening in every organization having lots of content. The thing that needs to be solved, as Ulla explained, is to make it accessible, make it feel like you are in control when you try to use the content. It cannot be just a list of blue URL links on a search page on somewhere, some Wikipedia, wiki instructional pages. The users, such as the students of the university, don't want to see the blue URLs. They want to have access to the content, the answer, in a way that feels natural and at the same time authoritative. If this sounds familiar, it might be that you have seen this happening in your own organization or in your clients' organizations, which might have lots of fragmented content, equally correct. When we started this project, we thought the hardest part would be the AI thing, choosing the model, fixing the prompts, doing evals, fixing the prompts again, choosing the embedding model, choosing the chunking for the embeddings, but it wasn't that. The hardest part was the finding a solution that answers users' need. Back to Ulla.
Thanks. Easy peasy. Yeah, that was something that most of you maybe are familiar with, like cases familiar to any organization, not just universities, I guess. But here's what I want you to think. Everything a student or a staff member actually needs to know, it exists. It does already exist. So someone wrote it, someone approved it, someone published it, right? It's sitting on your Drupal instance or in your subsite or wherever PDF that was made in 2020 and nobody deleted it yet. So it's all there, the knowledge. You've invested in it and you've used years building it. When a student then hits the wall, doesn't find the answer, they don't go to your subsites, right? They don't. They don't know what to do, they give up. So that's not a content problem because the content is there. That's an access problem, and it has a measurable cost, like I said, in staff hours, in support hours, in everything. The opportunity is not there to create more content. It's to make the content work for people. I think Jürgen Haas said yesterday in his keynote speech that you should always start with UX. It goes with this case as well. It's so well said. You should always start with UX, not the technology, because the technology part is actually relatively easy when you know where to go. So this is my favorite part. That was a revelation to me. We've been talking about CMS for like, what, 20 years, I guess. And better CMS, better workflows, better navigations, whatever. But I think somewhere along the way, we confused the tool with the goal. Because, right, who actually gets really excited over managing content? I mean, nobody really wants to manage content. They want people to get answers. And when you start thinking about that way, what I'm proposing here is that stop thinking about your website as a content repository that is somewhere over there and people navigate it. Start thinking about it as a answering giving machine or something like that. That makes you actually find the right answers. So not better menus, not better CMS answers. And that's a different design problem than what we started with. It's a different conversation to have with your leadership, to be honest. And this is what we actually spent last 3 months trying to fix for the University of Helsinki, but it goes to any organizations, I would say.
So in practice, this case is about, we'll be showing demos of this actual solution. It's about the University of Helsinki and its UniHelp service. A quick note about University of Helsinki. It's one of the biggest universities in Europe with 35,000 students, 3 official languages, and lots of content. In this case, we have migrated content from 7 different upstream systems, and it took us 3 months to implement this with 3 engineers, a couple of service designers, 1 very great product owner, focusing purely on this project. Well, the question was, build an AI search. The question was to make the answering machine that Ulla referred. And keeping that in mind, we were able to focus and prioritize work the whole project implementation phase.
But that was really intense 3 months.
That was, yes, yes. So how did we build it? Naturally, we used Drupal, but not the traditional way of storing content in it. Drupal is not the content store for the main data. It has a supportive role, though, but the main data is kept in the upstream systems, which we consider the canonical systems, We are just providing answers to the users, sort of a automated service desk, self-service desk basically. So we didn't store content in Drupal as nodes. We used data pipelines module, which is very good. It bypasses Drupal when reading the data from external systems into Elasticsearch, and in between there's a transformation happening where we do the chunking of the data before we send it to the embedding model for the vector retrieval, and then do some manipulations when needed for metadata, for instance. The database is Elasticsearch for our service. Drupal, as I said, is having this supportive role. It handles the configuration. We use a lot of feature flags for very many things, starting from Slack notifications to which functionalities are available at given time in the UI for the end users. We have these kill switches for, I don't know, dozens of different functionalities related to the search itself. Drupal also manages the orchestration of the data retrieval from those upstream systems. We have roughly 45 cron jobs running on daily basis or hourly basis. We, for instance, track if there's a sudden spike in the usage of the search and have an alert in such cases. The permissions are handled through Drupal and so on. Elasticsearch itself has a W duty. It has the vector database role. We don't have a separate vector database. Elasticsearch works very well with vector searches when there's less than 1 million items, less than 1 million documents in the database. It also has this traditional lexical search, term-based search role. We have this hybrid mode where each search combines the lexical plus the vector-based semantic searching in one query, basically, usually. We have this, usually, there is some special cases, but most of the cases is one query. So we have a microservice next to Drupal built with the Node.js using the Fastify framework. That microservice has a couple of different endpoints that we provide the data through. So the front-end search mini application, which is React-based, is utilizing those microservices running in Node.js. And very important part of the workflow is the structured JSON usage in the LLM API calls. So I think quite many nowadays rely on the structured JSON, but and those the major providers all provide nowadays the option to choose the JSON schema mode, which makes it easy to validate. Actually, it's validated on their side. In our case, we were using Azure OpenID, so their API makes certain that there's this schema implemented in the responses from the LLM. Yeah, and then there's that was the biggest layers, but then there's also in between, in this microservices level, there's a query rewriting, intent detector, language detector, and so on. There's many small non-LLM, non-AI parts built with traditional algorithms, very cheap, no machine learning there, which will detect if, for instance, you use different language than the current UI is having. And
can we see something?
Yes. Let's jump to the first video, which I recorded like half an hour ago. Let's see if we get
Just
it.
because he wasn't happy with the original one, and then he
Yep.
scared me like completely by saying that I'm going to change it. I'm like half an hour before the show. Yes, thanks.
Yes. So this clip is about a very basic use case. A student lands on this service, executes a search, and gets the response. And this is the UI, the part that we are now focusing on in this service. Asking about the thesis deadline, and retrieval augmented generated response comes from the LLM, giving the summarization of the whole data pool. And we have this, let's stop for a while here. Sorry. I wanted to highlight this references part. And this was actually something we figured out was necessary to have in this project, and required also that JSON schema, JSON structured approach in the LLM responses. We needed to have a separate field from the LLM to respond which documents from the actual provided contexts were you using to generate the response, the summarizations, the answer. So with each response from the LLM, we get, multiple fields, but 3 of them are very important. First one is the answer, textual answer. We just saw an example of it. The second is a references field, which is an array of objects containing the title of the reference content plus the URL of that content. So based on that information, we get this references section to the answer. And the third important one was has information field. It's a Boolean. Whether you have whether you have information or not. So the LLM is required to answer if it thinks that yes, I have an answer for this question. So we were utilizing those. And this was a happy path. Let's go to the harder ones.
I'm specialized on the hard stuff. Yeah, there's a question.
Sure. Yes, hey, go ahead. I love questions.
What if the source is the intranet for the help desk, as you said in the previous slide? Can we reference them?
Sorry.
What if the source is intranet for the help desk?
Yeah.
Good question. Well, we actually went back and forth with the intranet and the, all the other except intranet, they are public sources, yes. The intranet one is tricky one. We actually have a feature flag how to use it, but right now the configuration says that if the user is not logged in. There's an SSO actually involved. If the user is not logged in, we skip the intranet. But we have an option that the admin can change on the fly that has a... so the other option would be that, yes, take those intranet contents also into consideration, but if the summary if the summary would include something from those intranet contents, display a prompt to log in. So there's a sort of a log icon and so on.
But that's actually quite a nice bridge to what I'm going to say next. No. There we go. No. What did I do? Yes. Yeah, because when Google gets it wrong, you search again. But then if a university help portal or whatever gets it wrong, then a student misses a deadline or files the wrong form or misunderstands his rights or something like that. So the stakes are really different here, and that was kind of a thing that shaped everything we did, because this is, I think, the part where most of the AI projects quietly fail. Not on the technology, like I said, it's not the hardest part, but trust. They fail on trust, and that's in an institutional context. This way, it has a specific meaning, and that question was actually all about it, because we have to know whether this answer is correct, right? Then we want to see where it came from. Is it connected to what information? And then one of the questions was that, does the system know when it shouldn't be answering at all? And that was the third one. So these were not an afterthought. That was actually something that was included in the original brief. So we started with it. And we weren't there to build an impressive AI feature. We wanted to build something that the University of Helsinki can really stand behind and be proud of and say that this really helps our students and staff and whatever stakeholder it is. And now he's going to, again, do the easy part and show how.
Yeah. A quick word about how did we solve the trust issue in practice. We just saw the references. That's the first point. We have to show where, from which content and context the answer is based on. There's a link. There's a references. If there's some issues, people will know who to contact. Hey, you have an expired information on your page, for instance. There's the hybrid surface. So what we just saw was the AI-generated summarization, the answer. But below that, there's also the traditional result cards that people can then review themselves and choose which one to follow. And then there's this has information thing, which means that we want to make sure that we don't provide fake summaries. So the LLM is required. The system prompt says that you have to be very certain that this answer has proper information before you set this has information to true. It will reply something even if it says that I might not have a good information. And then we hide the answer in that case. The last point is that, of course, naturally this is a RAG search, so it is based on only the context that we provide to the LLM. So I think the maximum amount of documents we send is 20 at the moment. So we send 20 docs, and it then reads them, considers them as the only context, and then answers. And which are those 20 items? They are based on the vector search, well, vector plus the lexical search made by the Elasticsearch. And we'll have another video, I believe. And this is about the language. So as I said, the microservices layer has a multiple different tiny levels, one of them being the language detector. Let's have a quick look. This is a Finnish UI. As you can see, the user hasn't selected English or Swedish from the drop-down here, types in an English question, and the algorithm finds out that it's an English, displays a call to action element, and the user can click it and then taken to English UI. Cool. Then, moving on, about the project itself, it was, as said, a tight 3 months. Couple of points which are important. We didn't rebuild anything regarding the content management systems. We crawl the existing systems in some cases, so scraping out the content from the existing systems, and in some cases using JSON API APIs. In Drupal sites, that was quite trivial actually to implement, because Drupal, as you know, is providing a great way of structuring data. We had the data pipelines module and cron jobs, which are utilizing trust commands, which actually run the pipelines. And we kept that one question as the priority. We need to answer the student. Or actually, it would be better to say, answer the user, because student is only one user segment. There's teachers, staff members, researchers, and so on. And then potential students also. Also international students, and so on.
Researchers, whatever.
Yeah.
A lot.
All right. But moving on, another video. This is about the lexical search. So we have a capability of the semantic search, you might know, doesn't work well if you type in something like that. A code or a name of a teacher, for instance, wouldn't necessarily provide good results with semantic search. So vector-based search wouldn't necessarily come up with good results. So we have this lexical part. So the traditional BM25 search, term-based search, in other words, which is looking for that exact term in the content. Yes. And so, we wanted to highlight what we learned, summarizing it, that measure things. Figure out what is the correct way, things you want to measure, and implement it. Then that's the only way to actually improve. Otherwise, it's only based on who shouts loudest and not based on the actual usage volumes and usage data and so on. So I want to show another video because I think these are much better than us talking.
I didn't know that you had time to make so many.
So we have this sort of Analytics is a Drupal UI for the admins only. We have, as you can see, multiple dashboards. This is one of them. It has a health score trend, which is going down. There's the pie chart displaying what sort of information people are looking from the searches. And there's anomalies. So this is utilizing AI, but in an algorithm way. We have measurements, we have loads of statistical data, which we then dig into and then feed the sort of the results to LLM to summarize them in a verbal way. And we also have a AI tool here in the dashboards where you can actually, by prompting, asking the same questions that you would be able to look yourself using these different dashboards. So there's an easy way if you want to have if you're not that data-driven yet as an admin, so you are able to ask, like, okay, what do you think, why is the health score dropping down? Or what's the sort of the highest volume week in the past 2 months, and so on. All right, and I do have another video, but this is the last one, I believe, about the trustfulness. A case where it can be a student, it can be a staff member, whoever, executes a search and gets the result and then finds out, clicks this report an issue in the AI summary, explaining why she thinks this answer is somewhat wrong, there's some issue. For instance, in this case, there was something missing, some additional information in the user's perspective. And then those informations are stored in Drupal as flaggings where the admin can go and well, getting the notification about someone reporting an issue about this AI summary, and then reviewing it and then deleting if that was handled. Yep.
Yeah. Now we're getting to what I think is the coolest part of the project. This is on a surface a help portal. Yes, it is. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that University of Helsinki decided that knowledge should be accessible and wanted to invest in it. And publishing content is easy. Making it accessible is not. Making it usable is not. And we actually have a very impressive roadmap that we are getting to now that we've done this and we know what we can build on it. But Tomi, it's again your show.
Well, we can summarize it into 3 different themes. Becoming a proactive, personalization, that's in the roadmap. We have the SSO in place. Personalization can be many things, for instance, something small like your past searches and so on, or then building a profile out of your searches, maybe to be able to promote something that you might be interested about or would be very important to you. The understanding is key thing. That's why we have all those dashboards in place for different use cases and also for testing out which one is the most valuable for the admins Is it the graphs? If are the pure data tables the best one with numbers only, or is it the AI assistant chat? And then those AI summarized trends, for instance, we saw in the dashboard, explaining that which content, if there's a gaps in the content, for instance. Yeah, that sort of things.
Yeah, and as you probably have noticed, I'm not the technical person, he is. So I'm closing this with the commercial point of view. This is not just, what you saw is not just a sort of feature roadmap. It's a description of a system that reacts to questions, yes, but it's something that anticipates your needs, right? And it improves over time. I find that really important, and that's something that leads to the takeaway, the revelation that I had while working on this project. The organizations or universities that will win this race are not the ones with the most content. They are the ones that actually use clarity as infrastructure. And when you keep that in mind, you can build amazing stuff. I think this was pretty amazing. It's going to be even more. So it's basically just like Socrates, but scales better, I guess, or something like that.
And looks better than Socrates.
Well, I think he was really okay.
Good.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Before the project started, what was the data research on what type of questions the students asked? If they're brand new to the university, midway, or nearing the end of their time there? What type of questions they asked?
You mean the end users?
Yeah, the students. What is your data on what type of questions they ask?
Did we have data on that?
Or did you make an assumption of building the system that they would ask questions about the university?
That's a good question. I don't actually know.
Well, because we collect everything, we provide answers to any questions. So we don't have an opinion. We don't judge them. Whatever they ask is possible to ask if it's in the source material.
So what you basically say is that we didn't build a machine that answers the most common questions. So
Yeah.
we didn't have a list of those.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we kind of approached with that in mind. Like, it's any question, we have
Yeah.
to be able to answer it.
Yeah.
I work with universities myself at where we are, and my hypothesis assumption is that they have humanistic questions of their perspective of what
Yeah.
they want to study. Whereas your engine is based on the data of the university. So if they ask like, what would be a good job for me to get while studying here that will pay me a good salary? If you don't have that article, you won't be able to reply it.
Yes, but that's the thing, to be proactive then, if we see and measure the searches, so the utilization, the usage of the service. So based on that information, if we see that there's a gap in the content, that there's no articles about that sort of discussion, for instance, then that needs to be filled in with the new content naturally.
So
but
has this system started that conversation within the university? We're missing this kind of content to make the AI results better?
yeah, exactly. Yes. But I think that's quite old school issue. Even with the era before AI is involved or anything, any RAG searches were invented, people used to track from the Google Analytics, like, okay, what searches people are using, and then not getting results from our side. Our implementation just does it a bit better because I'm not sure if you noticed, but the dashboard for the admins, it does summarize for each day what was the themes that were searched for. And we also have in the Slack channel, in each morning there's an automated message doing the same thing. Like, okay, yesterday's search was up 45%, and the searched themes was these, and so on.
We need to wrap it up, so if there are any more questions, maybe if the speakers are available on the break.
We're happy to answer anything.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.